And good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining us. So now that we have some in-depth insights into our audiences, I'm going to focus in on digital audio and specifically what we're getting up to in this space. I'm going to provide you with some stats across our platforms and then wrap up a case study. I'll switch off my video because my connection has been a bit sketchy, but believe me, I'm doing you all a favor. Right, so first off, some definitions. And I think it's important to point out now that when we talk radio, live streaming, and internet radio, we're talking audio. You're going to be hearing this from us a lot more. It's all encompassing, and it really defines our approach to this next evolution in radio. So what is digital audio? So digital audio is audio content that's delivered in a digital format, and it's either live, pre-recorded, or catch-up in nature. When we speak about digital audio advertising, it's when we place sponsored messages that advertise products and services to consumers while they're listening via live streaming or internet radio. So moving on to our platforms and how they work, you can access directly from the website, but there's many ways to access our digital audio, whether it be on smart speakers like Alexa or Google Home, smart TVs, internet radio, and then of course desktops and mobile phones, as well as our apps that we have available. I think what's the most important thing to note here is that these devices that we see right here are going to become a regular feature in many households. And as the cost of data goes down, as 5G becomes more accessible, people are really going to stop differentiating between how they're actually accessing our platforms. And that's where we see the tipping point of where digital audio numbers are really going to start taking off. So let's hope I've got better luck with my next slide. So moving on to our platform stats. Yay, cool. All right, so I'm going to start off Jacaranda. All of these stats are hot off the press compliments of our streaming partner, SharpStream, and they are for the month of June. I'm going to dig into some detail on this slide just to get your eye in, and then I'll move a bit quicker. So starting off at the top left-hand corner of your screen, Jacaranda listeners tuned in to live streaming for the month of June for over 1.3 million hours. They listened for an average of 1 hour and 17 minutes. And then onto concurrent users. So what is a concurrent user? It's the total number of listeners that we have on our channel at any particular point in time. And during June, the peak that we had was 4,645 people listening at the same time. In terms of hours by device, it's predominantly desktop. But as I mentioned earlier, we expect this to change a lot over the next few years as more people get connected devices into their homes. We brought in 260,000 unique users, and those 260,000 unique users generated 1.1 million active sessions on the site. Now, just taking a look on the right-hand side, we've specifically pulled out the SA audiences because the vast majority of people listening to our stations are South African. And this is very important to note because live streaming reaches people across the globe. So we can target people in Japan and the US and all over the place if that's what you're looking to do. But for many of our advertisers locally, SA users are the most important. So that's where our primary focus does lie. It also then goes without saying that radio is becoming a global medium, and we are starting to compete on a global scale. So a lot of our thinking is going into how do we get the best possible content to make sure that we can maintain our audiences and grow it in this global economy. Taking a look at the top right-hand side, from a regional perspective, you can see again that our reach stretches far beyond how far the radio waves travel. So with Jacaranda, as you would expect, the vast majority of the users are coming from Gauteng and Mpumalanga and Limpopo. But then take a look, we're starting to reach people in the Western Cape, KZN, and across the country. Moving on to East Coast Radio, so we reach 414,000 listening hours. They listen a bit longer than Jacaranda listeners, hour and 29 minutes, 1,397 concurrent sessions. Again, the vast majority came in from desktop, but a nice mobile audience that we're building over there. We had 98,000 unique users who generated 349,000 active sessions. South Africans predominantly again, 87%. And of the 414,000 listening hours, SA listeners generated 359,000 of those. A nice KZN audience coming in, again, as you would expect, but take a look at that Gauteng audience, 28% coming in, and then 3% from the Western Cape. Moving on to our new kid on the block, that's East Coast Gold. It's, as Nick mentioned earlier, it's a pure internet station. It focuses predominantly on the 50-plus audience, serving up music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We're going to have a lot more of these popping up in the future. And being as targeted as they are, we don't expect the audience numbers to necessarily rival our radio platforms, but the ability to ring-fence audiences is going to be massive. So they listen for 52,000 hours. They listen for a long time, hour and 51 minutes, generating 147 concurrent sessions. Same kind of profile from an access perspective. We have 16,900 users that have come in. So we launched this in November from a dead start, and we generated that kind of audience. 58,000 sessions, predominantly South African. And again, we can see that KZN and Gauteng audience that shows up very strongly. Right, so what are we actually talking about when it comes to digital audio advertising? I'm going to illustrate this with the audio advertisement that's currently running across our platform. This is an example now of a pre-roll, and then mid-rolls will be where we actually start replacing our radio ads with digital audio ads. So what you can hear playing on radio will not necessarily be the same as what you hear on live streaming. So let's have a listen.
At Audi, we know the best Audi is an Audi you never need to worry about. That's why we've made Audi Smart Service available to all models outside their freeway plan. It's an affordable 2-year, 2-oil change service package that guarantees you advice you can trust, highly trained technicians, and 2 years of free roadside assist. Audi Smart Service, starting from 4,800. Visit audi.co.za or contact your nearest Audi dealership. T's and C's apply. Vorsprung durch Technik.
Right, so you can see the companion ad playing in there in our playlist. That's the opportunity for people to go through and actually click through to the client site and take action on the message. And we've got other companion ads that we would run around that as well. Moving on to a case study that we've got. So it is one of the first advertisers that we had on the news ads platform. It's a telecommunications client, and they ran a campaign from the 1st to the 30th of June across Jacaranda, East Coast Radio, and then also East Coast Gold. I think what's most important to note is the fact that they ran the campaign on our digital platforms as well as on FM. Their objective was to drive awareness of their brand, drive sales of their 4G and 5G products. They also wanted to test how radio and digital audio work together. And then finally, they also wanted to test how their conversion tracking tools work internally, because again, we're trying to drive conversions on these advertisements. Down to the numbers, so we delivered 975,000 audio ads with an average listen-through rate of 95%. So almost all of the listeners listened to the entire ad. We delivered 470,000 companion ads with a click-through rate of 0.2%. And although that 0.2% is ahead of the average digital click-through rates, it's something we know we can improve on by bringing in some best practices to the execution of the advertisement. And we're going to have some future workshops around this topic going into the future. So we reached over 458,000 unique users, and we reached them in an average frequency of 3. The primary time that the ads were delivered and engaged with was between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. And that's where we see the vast majority of people coming in to listen to our live streaming. As you can see on the next slide, client was very happy with what was achieved, and we're now working closely with them on their next campaign and doing some tweaks to ensure that optimal performance. So that's a snapshot of what we're getting up to in the digital audio space. We'd love the opportunity to engage further with you on this. Something else to bear in mind is that although our numbers are big and growing, this is not only an opportunity for big advertisers. the kind of targeting we're able to offer means that we can focus in on very targeted markets, which means that we minimize wastage, we make your budget work to the max. So this is a platform for both large and small advertisers. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time. Apologies for the tech issues. And I'm going to hand over now to Patrick Roger, who is the Vice President for New Markets at AdsBiz. We're very proud to have AdsBiz on board as our digital audio ad tech partner. And Patrick's going to provide you with a view of what's happening in the digital audio space from an international perspective, as well as some of the really cool ad executions and tools that will be available in the very near future.